David, it's been a while.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah. So this is the cold open. You ready?
No problem.
I know we haven't spoken in a while. I give you two choices. Either you tell me something and the rest of our listeners something that nobody knows about you, and it can be what we're going to talk about later. That's cheating.
Right. Okay.
Or you get to be a victim to my dad one-liners.
Oh, I'll take the dad one-liners for sure. As a dad myself, I want the one-liners.
All right. It was an emotional wedding. Even the cake was in tears. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. And hey, when we're recording this, it's going to be Father's Day weekend in a few days.
Exactly. This is going out
this is
going out
perfect.
right after Father's Day weekend. It's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back to Desperate Radio, where we talk about why work doesn't work. There's a lot of reasons why it doesn't work, and we're going to explore one of those reasons today. We started the show talking about Agile, and it transformed into from Agile to what the heck is happening at work? Why doesn't this easy framework for people like me and my guest today is not adaptable? And it is. And a lot of times we'll find out that it's people that are actually the reason that work doesn't work, or Agile doesn't work, or PMI doesn't work, or whatever else doesn't work. I want to bring in my guest today, Mr. David Borzello. David, welcome back to the show.
It's a pleasure.
We had you on last year talking about AI, and you and I are, first of all, we've known each other for some time, and we're actually, I'm going to say, graduates, classmates of the Forge. Do you remember? So we were part of the Forge. Chris Williams was on the show. Of course, you were on the show last year talking about AI. In your own words, tell us a little bit, what is the Forge for those who don't know what it is? Give our buddy Chris a little bit of a shout out.
Hey, Chris Williams, hope you're watching this. So the Forge Genesis specifically was a new program that Chris started last year to help those of us who are looking for what's next in our careers with Agile, etc. So we were part of a cohort, lasted most of the year, and Desperate Radio, and your offerings really came out of that, right?
It started off with me just wanting to figure out how to really elevate my opportunities, my skills. How do I formulate them in a way that's people know what I do better? And then I said, I think I want to talk about it instead. And Chris has a podcast, and in not so many words, he kind of pushed me to start my own podcast. But once I told him I kind of wanted to, he was my biggest champion. And he just shoved me. And you have your own podcast, obviously, better ways of working.
Thank you.
I hope you don't mind, but I do give you credit.
Please.
So
no, you've been doing great with the podcast and series of podcasts now, right? You've got Hello Henderson. And
I have Hello Henderson, which is taking on a life of its own.
Yes.
Of course, I Desperate Radio. It's funny because I was talking to somebody last night about both shows, and I do other stuff also on the side that's media related. Like I do the Daily Stoic a while.
That's right.
So that's sort of my cathartic project. But speaking of cathartic, talking about Agile, specifically Desperate Radio, is really my favorite thing to do out of all my other activities that I do online. Desperate Radio is my favorite because it is cathartic, because you and I are in this world where we pretty much get beaten up all the time. We get told to our faces, oh, I don't like Agile. Oh, Agile is terrible. We don't even do Agile at work. And Dave, we talked about this before. Everyone, if not everyone, actually does Agile. They just don't know that it's called Agile, right?
It's true. It's ambient now. Like, I think Agile's not dead. It kind of won. It kind of took over.
It kind of did, which brings me to your first book, Who Killed Agile. This is a book that you wrote last year. It was published, right? Tell us a little bit more about the book and tell us, what do you mean by Who Killed Agile? And what's the takeaway from that book?
Yeah, so Louise Quintilla and I wrote that book because at the time, Agile's dead. And, if Agile's dead, then the question is, who killed Agile? So in the book, we looked at a couple of the accomplices. We start off with leadership, right? Yeah, so leadership, don't screw this up. That's kind of like the mantra of the first chapter. And, implementing agile leadership still, if you still want to do a command and control style approach to leading agile teams, you're going to kill agile at your company. So then we go into more like the agile industrial complex, the folks looking to run the certification mills, et cetera. We talk about AI a little bit, and honestly, I was talking with Louise here recently. I think we're going to do a second edition of the book later this year because AI is just changing so fast. Even when we wrote the book last year, and Louise, he goes by Q, really he was creating his own LLMs and stuff like that to kind of help split stories and backlog items. But now, like with agentic I think we need to refresh that section a little bit more. And then, really what we end up with a book is it really comes down to the three C's: communication, coordination, and it leads to collaboration. So whatever framework you follow, I think those are the three big themes, the three C's, to be able to really do Agile well.
We know, you just said that it's leadership. We know that leadership is part of the reason that Agile either fails or succeeds. It's the reason any kind of initiative fails or succeeds if you think about it, right? I had a series of episodes this season, so I'm breaking the show into seasons. But there's a few episodes in this season where I talked about whose fault is it that this is not really getting traction. We talked about leadership, but also we call it out where it's really need to be called out. We talked about the practitioners. We talked about the scrum masters who just collect reports and that's it.
We
We
call it
talked
potted
about,
plant scrum masters because you might as well have a potted
I
plant in the
love that,
corner.
potted plant scrum masters. Tell me more about that.
Well, Louise and I are passionate that a scrum master is a leader, not just somebody who sets up the events in Scrum, right?
Yes.
Are you removing impediments? Working with leadership to remove those impediments that you can't remove as a scrum master. Are you collecting metrics to help improve your team? Are you running retrospectives? They can be fun, but are they actually driving real change in your teams? That's also what we talk about in the book as well, Who Killed Agile.
We're all in the same field. We've seen it all. We've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. We share a lot of the ideas. So that's why I love this show specifically because I get to really just kind of let everything off my chest about what is wrong with why work doesn't work. So, so we do call out not just leadership, but we call out also the practitioners who give Agile a bad name as well. What has been your reaction to this book, Who Killed Agile? What's been the reaction? Is it defensive? Is it welcoming? Does the title throw people off until they read it?
We got some controversy in the book.
I'd imagine.
Some people find that crazy. But again, like we want to be principle driven here, not practice driven. And unfortunately, we do kind of poke holes. Again, I mentioned the certification mill, right? So like, gee, I went to this 2-day class and I still don't know how to do Agile, right? Or Scrum or Kanban or whatever 2-day course you taught. So we kind of poke holes at that. But mostly, overall, there's kind of like, yeah, we kind of agree with what you're saying in the book. Like we really have to go back to those principles.
Something that I often say on this show is Agile is not broken. We are. Is that a sentiment that you agree with, disagree?
I think there's so much overlap with your podcast and my podcast and what we try to travel. And then that's where, I call it better ways of working. Like I can't call it perfect ways of working. I can't show you a perfect way to work. If I can show you a better way, then I've achieved my goal there.
Yeah. And a lot of people still think Agile is all about stand-ups, backlog refinement,
Yes.
Jira, tooling. It's not. It's about being open. It's about better ways of planning, better ways of communicating, better ways of collaborating. It really does start up here. And a lot of people think there is no such thing as an Agile framework. Agile is an idea. It's principles. It's a way of how do you approach a problem.
How do you approach it? Because I don't like to use the word mindset. A lot of people say, oh, it's a mindset. And I kind of take offense to that because a mindset means, well, wait a minute. I went to college. I have 2 degrees. And now you're telling me that I don't know how to think about my work. But I like the word approach because that's more to like what we want people to do differently is just how you approach the work. Don't just automatically jump into the solution, right? Understand the what and the why before we talk about the how.
So you talked about Agile. Truly, it's not dead. It's just being called something else. Is that a better saying?
Yeah, I don't know what to call it. If you hear the original signatories of the Agile Manifesto, the close runner-up to the word agile was the word adapt. So I'm
It's funny
wondering if maybe that's what we're doing.
in any kind of agile transformation, adaption.
And there's frameworks, right? Like the ADKAR framework on how to get change management successfully. And Agile is one big initiative. You want change management. Are you making the folks aware? Why are we doing this Agile transformation and giving them the knowledge, getting their buy-in, right? Like how many Agile transformations have we heard of Haas where, it's failed? And why did it fail? Because people were just checking the boxes. They didn't know why they were doing it. They didn't see any benefit out of it. These things take time where people were not cogs in the machine. And in my latest book, that's where I'm talking about you got to set up the system. It's not just about, the mechanics of whatever framework you're trying to do. It's about creating that system where people are talking to each other. It's still about high performing teams. We still want high performing teams, but we want to, regardless of the framework you practice, there's kind of several things that you and I are seeing out there that we kind of need to address. Now, the age of AI, even more so, getting people to talk to each other. Are we building the right thing? Are we building the thing right? Those are still very important concepts.
Last year, when you were on the show, we talked about this specific individual who wrote this long LinkedIn post about how he saw with his own eyes how an AI agent, went in, did all this, structured everything, wrote the user stories, created the backlog and everything. And his thing was, so how long will it be before we no longer use agile or whatever? But I think if I'm not mistaken, I think you and I both said you actually just proved to us that it's the other way around, right? Which kind
Yeah.
of into what you posted the other day about the agentic AI.
Yeah,
So
there's a presentation from an executive at AWS, right? Amazon Web Services, where he talked all about Agile. He just never used the terms because he talked about small teams. Now with AI agents as part of the team members, being able to decompose the work, working autonomously. So like I'm watching this video. It was 30 minutes if your folks want to watch it. But he's basically like preaching a lot of the stuff that we've been preaching for decades. Just he didn't use the terms.
and I think and I wrote something on your post, but it literally is something I've been saying to people for years. When I was at the VA, I told folks, I don't care what you call it. You can call it the big bubble gum in the sky or whatever you want to call it. Just do it correctly. That's all I'm asking you to. You don't have to call it whatever you want to call it. Just understand that's the functionality that comes out of it.
And isn't it interesting that when they do figure out what we've been talking about, how much better,
Yeah.
how much more excited they are when they do work?
Yeah.
I mean, I love it when people discover it themselves. It's like a light bulb goes off, and they're like, "Oh, this is fun! Like, I enjoy working this way." And they're like, "Hey, that's Agile." Oh, what? Really?
Yeah. You know why? Because it's a better way of working.
I need a bell. Every time we say that, we have to ring the bell.
No, all kidding aside, I've been on this sort of crusade lately where I have people come and ask me questions. And I don't charge people for asking me questions, by the way. Like somebody asks me a question, I'll spend like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, because I love this. I love this because to me, it was life changing to me a long time ago. And I've seen it actually work on a small and large scale. And the thing that I tell people now when they come and tell me something, like, how should I read this report or how should I handle this situation? And it's a lot of it, it's very mechanical, operational stuff. And I don't give them an answer that they're looking for. I give them the answer. My answer has always been you don't have to be the person with the solution. You have a team, you have leadership. Collaborate together and find out what the solution. And I think a lot of people don't take into consideration the importance of a working agreement.
That is so critical.
How do you want to operate? And I often tell people, the Scrum Masters, the RTEs, your job is to not tell people how to operate. Your
Yes.
job is to collaborate with them to figure out how you all want to operate. Your job from that point is to enforce is a harsh word, but just basically make sure everyone's aligned and following whatever everybody agreed to. And don't change it like 2 days later.
Yeah. Over time, right? You're doing your retrospective and you're like, oh, we didn't see this when we were right. Yeah, go ahead and update it. But
Change it, but just don't change it next week. Give it a month to because you're still going through the document stages, right?
Exactly.
The
Forming, storming.
all of that. It works in teams.
Yeah.
It works when you start.
I use a canvas with any new team that I help, right? And one of the blocks is what are your working agreements? What are your norms?
Yes. What are your working agreements? And a lot of people don't take that very seriously.
What's your
And
mission as a team? Why are we even a team?
a lot of times, what I've seen is, and I'm gonna be honest, I was one of those guilty people a long time ago. What happens is that they do it as part of a like starting a new process or a new transformation, like just to check off a box and, oh, done. I did my working agreement. Okay. Did you revisit that working agreement, or is it just sitting dormant somewhere because you checked it off your list? So
It's a great retrospective. Just take a few minutes and pull out the working agreement. Did we hit any of this? Did we have problems with any of this?
somebody asked me 2 days ago, said this guy who's an entrepreneur, he's asking me, I really hated Agile in my last job. I was like, oh, tell me more. Tell me.
Yeah.
He said, how do you feel about stand-ups? I mean, I think they're critical. And he said, I hated them. And I said to him, you know what? We'll call him Sam. I'm not going to use his real name. I'm like, you know what, Sam? If you don't want to do stand-ups, I'm actually okay with that. My counter to that is like, okay, I'll explain to you what the benefit of a stand-up is, at least for me, not just the team, but also the Scrum Master. Tell me, how can I get the information that I want out of it? What's going to take the purpose of the stand-up is for you to tell me, are we tracking on meeting our goals for this sprint? That's it. How do I get that information without the stand-up? If we can find out, if you can provide that for me as a team without having a stand-up, I'll agree with you. I'll say, no more stand-ups. You got it. So,
And look, they didn't have Teams or Slack or whatever back in 2001 when they wrote the manifesto. So, like, some teams will say, hey, can we do an update in the Slack channel every day? Fine.
yeah.
If you catch an impediment and I find out about it a week later because you didn't put it in the Slack channel, we've got to talk because now you're missing the mark on why we have those daily scrums.
Exactly. And if you don't catch those on a team level, guess what? When you start scaling Agile, what was the thing that Uncle Bob said from one of the original?
It is something you can't, scaling doesn't fix your broken system.
He said you can't scale shitty code.
Yeah.
So I take it a step and say you can't scale shitty processes or shitty practices.
No, and that's where leaders get excited, right? In my career, like, hey, we're going to scale. Do you even have Scrum teams that actually work at a decent level?
Yeah.
Just scaling it isn't going to fix your teams if they already have it major. Like, no teams are going to be perfect.
It
but if you have
exposes your problems more. Scaling
exactly.
And a lot of people, oh, that's why Agile failed. No, it didn't. It did exactly what it's supposed to do. It showed you what's broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, exactly. And your organization is a system. And if you don't understand how your system works, where the bottlenecks are, that's the premise of my latest book. Right? Then you have these heroes that are getting burned out.
I kept on touching on scaling because it was the segue to your book.
Yeah.
Can we hear more about this book? First of all, tell me, actually, before you do, tell me, what was a pivotal moment in your life or your career where you said, you know what, I need to write this book?
I can't believe it that I've been working for almost 30 years. My career spans now 3 decades. And I sat down and I said, what would be the book that I wish somebody gave me about 20 years ago or so? And that's where the idea for Sanity at Scale comes from, because these were kind of the lessons that I've learned over the decades that if I can help your readers or your viewers, so that they don't have to learn things the hard way like I did. And so, we talked about Agile being ambient and, it's everywhere now. So it's a play on words, right? Scaling Agile, et cetera. But at the same time, like if we implement the practices of scaling, what are some of the other things that an organization still has to address? Because when you don't address them, you get insanity. So kind of the cure here is sanity at scale. And I'm not advocating a framework, and I'm not going to poke holes that's not the purpose of the book. But the purpose of the book is, again, what are those challenges in scaling an organization? What starts off with the hero trap, right? This idea of like, regardless if you're scaling or not scaling, you kind of have a few folks that wake up at 4 a.m. to fix the issues in production and do all that stuff. And you might think, wow, those are really helping the organization. They're really not, because you've got to plug some holes. If that person goes on vacation for even a week, you might be in big trouble. How do you get those folks to teach the organization so anybody can help out in a crisis?
I often say this in the past, and some Agilists or some people in our field hate it when I say this. The best sign of a coach, RTE, Scrum Master is the one that works themselves out of a job.
Yes.
You know who hates it? The ones that AI is killing their job right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair question. Right now, people, agile coaches, etc. Oh, the market's down. Well, what's the value, right? We're delivering as RTEs, as agile coaches, as Scrum Masters.
Yeah.
And yeah, we should be working ourselves out of a job.
And this is a shameless plug for somebody that I know. That the last episode I put out was with Dr. Angela Maroney, who basically talks about in the age that we live in right now, AI, with the way job hunting is and the way people are trying to look for work and trying to start a business or whatever, your work doesn't speak for itself anymore. So actually, that kind of speaks to what you were saying. If you're somebody that they're first of all, I want to say this: the badge of honor thing, having to wake up at 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning to fix something because something broke or whatever. Yeah, great. But if you do it often, or if your calendar is full of meetings from the minute that you wake up to the minute that you go to sleep, that's just I don't know when that turned into a badge of honor. That's not a badge of honor.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that we talked about in the last episode was that she said there's a lot of folks out there have 30, 40, maybe even 50 years of experience. And we come from this mindset, or a lot of us came from this mindset where we say, let your work speak for itself. That's not the case anymore. You have to actually highlight your work. It's called Unleash Your Genius. And I'll put the code out there for if anybody's interested, the QR code for anybody interested checking it out. Unleash Your Genius, where she actually helps you promote yourself and talk about yourself and in a way that is positive, but that's also grabbing people's attention. But of course, the onus is on you now to make sure that whatever you promoted, you can actually do. So you're not a fake prophet, as she calls it. So
Oh,
I think there's a lot of fake prophets out there. There's a lot of people out there, kind of like the Scrum Masters, who just run ceremonies and run reports and they're like, oh, I'm a Scrum Master. No, you're not.
you
Best at
can
it.
hire an admin to do that. And on
Yeah,
top of that, with the way things AI can probably start doing a lot of that on their own. Just put it in the Copilot or Claude or whatever, and it'll set up your meetings for you. So what is the value that a Scrum Master brings? Again, it lies into terms of you're helping the team improve.
what's the one thing in the book that, in your opinion, that's going to make people feel uncomfortable?
Probably the one thing is subtraction, not addition. Right. So if your team's backlog looks like the junk drawer, at home, we all have a junk drawer where we throw in the batteries and the paper
Or
clips
everything
and the
there.
scissors and the whole thing. Like subtraction, not addition. Oh, you can't get rid of that backlog item. We talked about it 6 months ago and we may need it one day. Cut it out. And if it comes back, it comes back. But I think that's, when we talk about sanity at scale, part of the insanity we want to get rid of is a backlog that just becomes a junk drawer.
Yeah. And when it becomes that big, it becomes overwhelming. And then I do feel there's a psychological effect to that where people say, there's just a lot going on right here. So I'm just going to focus on only what I know, which is a bug that's easy to fix, a
Yeah.
technical that's easy to fix, or something small. When things become overwhelming, I've noticed this in a lot of people. When things become overwhelming or too strong, there's also pride is taken into it and everything.
Oh,
And people
yeah.
focus on what they know only, and they'll dig their heels even further and say, no, 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 this is what we have to do. I'm
It's
gonna
the
do that.
sunk cost fallacy. I talk about that in the book as well. You've got too much invested in it. You're not going to give it up, but you have to give it up.
Exactly. So when does the book come out?
So this is going to be next week. This will be the 26th. It's a Friday. So the 26th, 27th, and 28th. If you have a Kindle, it'll be for free for those 3 days. I would appreciate a review on Amazon if you do download it. If you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free anytime. But for the launch weekend, I want folks to get it on their Kindle. It'll be free. There will be a paperback version also. And so, yeah, it's coming up soon.
Excellent. And David, you have a podcast, Better Ways
Yes.
of Working.
Yes. Have to have you on again.
Yeah, it's a little bit less intense than here, right? I gotta say, you bring quite a level of calmness to any room that you're in. Like very intense, but today I feel like I'm very calm. Oh, it also at 6 o'clock in the morning right now while we're recording this.
So the main website is betterwaysofworking.com. From there, you'll get to the YouTube channel, the podcast. Also have a Substack. That's where I get a little bit more gritty, if you want to call it that way. And follow me on LinkedIn, and then I'll point you to those other places. And also, talk about the book as it gets launched. I'll go over certain sections of the book and help you, get you into what the book's all about, so you can hopefully pick up a copy.
David, any last words before we go ahead and wrap up?
And it's great seeing you again.
I
So it's
know,
good
man. We
talking
haven't
to
seen
you.
each other in a while. Like, look, we need to have another like a Forger reunion with everybody else.
Yeah, dude, great idea. We'll
We
get
should
Chris on here
definitely
and
talk to
others.
you and Chris and just about everybody else that was in that cohort.
Yeah, we'll make that a special. That'd be awesome.
All right, there you go, folks. Make sure you check out the book this coming weekend, and we'll put all the QR codes and the links and everything in the description below. Make sure you check out Better Ways of Working. Dave is genuinely one of the best people that I've known, and he really is passionate about this, and his heart is always in the right place.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you check us out on YouTube pretty soon. We're probably going to be also on Substack. I've been exploring those options, and we're going to probably be on Spotify as well. So this is probably the last episode of this season. I do need a break. I do want to enjoy the rest of the summer with my family. So we'll be back. We have a lot of great stuff lined up for the next season. I've been talking to some folks. We're getting some things lined up for a lot of great conversations, a lot of great activities. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment below. If you like anything that you heard, let us know what you liked. If you didn't like anything, let us know what you didn't like. If you want to be part of the show, let us know, and we'll make sure we coordinate to get you on the show and maybe argue with us a little bit. Love those kind of episodes. All right. Until next time, this is Haz, and this is Dead Sprint Radio.